Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the panel discussion. I need to say thank you for the panel presenters. You know, we heard loads of very, very interesting ideas and innovations and the new land of fashion industry. And I was really astonished to listen to all of these great presentations. Thank you. Thanks a lot for these. We've got quite a few questions from the audience. We already have some questions, and I got my questions listening to the presentation. So let's actually have a discussion. It's not a one-by-one way of answering the questions. Who feel free to pick them up. Someone who will be more relevant to answer the question, but we feel free to also discuss a few areas. I would like to start with it's quite interesting for me that what you presented basically suggests that anyone can be a fashion influencer using your digital technology and all these new way of approaching the fashion industry. I can be let's say a fashion influencer because I can define the trends, I can create a great web shop and so on and so forth. Is this the case? That's my first question. So was I clear? The question is that can anyone be a fashion designer, influencer, producer, a fashion brand based on digital technology?
I will take that one to start with. I think it's very different to say I can become a fashion creator, which based on what I have presented with Euritech, not everyone can be a fashion designer because it's still artistic, but of course, technology helps and it's easier to become a fashion designer maybe today than before the technology. Then becoming a fashion influencer for me is a totally different topic. But I think it's interesting to see that, yes, technology is facilitating the fact that you can become a fashion creator, you can understand better your environment, you can actually identify trends, as I said, using technology, artificial intelligence. But it will never remove the fact that becoming a fashion designer is all about creativity. I think fashion is mostly an art and will remain an art. And it's really about how do you use technology to actually enhance the way you do fashion rather than saying, okay, now fashion is accessible to everyone. It's really, okay, now there is a combination to make between my sense of art and what technology can offer me.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add to that. I completely agree in the sense that the tools are available for everybody, but how you use the tools and what input you actually give into the process is really much up to you. And in terms of if fashion is art or design or whatever that is, I think creativity and the creative input that, let's say, those who have a flair for it, who are interested in it, or who have a dedicated passion in it, can actually, enhance those processes. So I would say that it's really much up to the person's agenda of what you want to create as a content. The possibility of creating content is indeed, I think, a bit easier in different new ways.
I would like to add just in a few words. I think being a fashion influencer is a very difficult task. It is not easy at all. It is a lot of hard work, everyone uses words, but not everyone's a poet. So you have to know how to use this tool. You need to know how to be unique and shine over all the other influencers. So that's it. What I need to
Yeah, it's interesting because I just have my e-commerce perspective, right? And so building day-to-day online shops, I'm thinking more of for example, take fashion as the creativity as a product, and how do you want to land it? Everybody can basically start selling products, but in the end it's up to, and there are so many easy tools nowadays that the barrier in order to enter is so easy and you can start right away. And the same is for example, for talking about fashion and being kind of if I want to be a fashion influencer, I could start now and say I'm a fashion influencer. But the thing is, what decides whether I'm a fashion influencer or not are the people who want to follow me, and that is determined in the end by the product. I'm basically the opinions, the creativity, all that comes into that determines basically what I'm sharing, whether it's really good content or it's bad content. And through that, so like basically, and the same with like online shops, I guess. I mean, you can start building up an online shop and start selling your stuff, but like if the stuff you try to sell is not really relevant to the audience, then like you will never sell probably product. And so I see it a little bit the same with like fashion influencer and everything. You can have an opinion, but the thing is, not every opinion is really a good opinion or is worth like listening to probably. So
yeah, I think a smart curator and a smart collaborator coming together can create a fairly powerful brand very quickly on Instagram if they wanted to, but it's the curation and the narrative that you have to get right if you really want to make an impact, I think.
Yeah, along this way, it's good that you still need to have hard work to become someone. This is good to hear. And along the way of this thought that, let's say the retail, when you actually combine the physical and the digital, it somehow, it somehow feels that creating an Apple store or that kind of, live theater and brand theater store is available, this option for everyone. So why other brands than Apple and few good brands, why they don't create such a retail experience for Rob? So why is another question, another approach that is this way of doing the retailing is good for the big brands, luxury brands, or smaller mainstream brands as well?
Well, I think the nature of where people are transacting and interacting has changed. And so, as I was saying, the physical space has to operate differently. I think that the idea of presence means that we can be present right now and be looking at product to sell each other at this moment. So the physical space needs to have a different role now. And that's what we've been sort of trying to sort out. But I think as the younger digital natives are only on the device, they're only going to discover there. That means they're going to transact there, and wherever they go physically, they want to be supported and recognized in different ways. So yeah.
And if you do a great web shop, following Adrian's advices, why do we need retail? For example, the young generation, do they need retail, physical representation of the product?
Maybe I can jump in, or Rob, do you want to first?
You take that one, sure, go ahead.
Okay, because the thing is, of course, like a lot of things happen online nowadays, even more because like lockdown and everything comes into, but still we're physical beings. So like we still go out and we like to go around, and especially I think with like fashion and other products, it's also that like we still have this physical component. It's nothing like online cannot replace this experience of like entering a room, entering a world, entering a world of emotions, and also especially like with fashion, I think this part of like touching, feeling, and really like in the end, online cannot replace that. So I think it's not like black or white. It's not like one or the other. It's like a combination of like how everything melts into, because in the end, it's not like the online world, it's not the offline world, but it's the journey as a whole that is determined. So I would say like retail for sure will, like offline will still stay for sure.
Yeah,
I think also the higher you go from a luxury standpoint, the closer you clearly want to be to the physical product that you want to buy. The lower in the scale of the premium or more affordable things, you don't need that interaction necessarily with that product immediately. But for fashion and for the design of fashion, clearly you want to be close to it and physically interact with it. So, however, the real message is can you make a world where people feel that they can go into that physical space and to engage in that product in a much more modern and richer way than today? That's the challenge.
Yes, and I think there is, we have a live demo now in Israel. We've been under a lockdown for a month, and the shops were closed, and everyone bought online. But the day the shops opened, there were lines. People stood up for 2 hours and more just to have the physical experience of buying clothes. I mean, I think that's a proof. We are now living the test of the time where we try to see, can we do without the physical shops? No, evidently, no, not at all, because we do need the physical touch. We need to touch fabrics. We need to see the colors in our eyes. The screens are so two-dimensional. I don't know, I can't wait to see the technology that will give me the ability to feel and touch digitally. This is, I think, this will do, you know, the next revelation, you know, of the digital thing would be the sensitive part. But now we see that the physical is we are in lack of touch, and we're going to feel it much more in the future, in the next trends, that things are going to be much more tactile because we miss it.
Agreed.
Yes, on that note, if I may jump in, I think it's really important to emphasize the role of technology and its accessibility. So when we are talking about accessible, immersive solutions, digital or physical or digital, I think it's really important to talk about the scale of the business as well, how much they are able to access these solutions. So I think the online or offline presence of a brand really much depends on how you know, the financial capability and the state of technology as well. So just like Maya mentioned, haptic technologies, for example, which will enable you to touch digital, are coming, but they are on the way and they are under development. So I think the widespread accessibility of cross-realm existence will come, and it will be much more accessible to the audience as well, because we have to remember that the consumers will only go to some kind of experience if they understand what's happening. So I think it's all under process, and it's going to be much more widespread.
Mm-hmm. And listening to you, all this digitalization, you know, the appearance, you know, the selling, the education, and how we actually present fashion, how it will change fashion industry as such in the future. So there will be new products, or there will be a new, how can I say, new features of the fashion itself, like, you know, even the garment can have more feature than just, you know, covering our body, so to say. So how do you see that? The future.
I think the future is now. It's all happening, and I don't think it's actually, you know, creating a completely new industry. I think how we have to look at this is how we can actually solve critical issues that need solving. It's not necessarily about creating new experiences. It's about looking what's wrong right now in terms of overconsumption, overproduction, product experiences, the agency behind what brands want and what the customers want. I think that's what we have to look at, and it's actually happening right now. So the way how we interact with products, how we experience them, I think that's when fashion technology can really help, but it's not the only solution. It's definitely a way to kind of improve things.
Mm-hmm. And someone asked about the fashion weeks, which is along with our discussion that are digital fashion weeks working? Is fashion online revolution really cutting through?
So I think that's something we have seen, especially with the COVID situation, that fashion weeks couldn't be held physically. So brands had to invent a digital fashion week, which I think was very interesting because it came in actually a whole questioning of the fashion week, which is happening for already a couple of months and even years. Like, why spend so much money on fashion weeks? We're trying to be more sustainable in the way we are doing fashion, but at the same time we're doing fashion weeks with inviting people from all around the world, etc., etc. So the impact from an environment point of view is huge. And at Euritech, actually, we have tried to compare the impact on social media of a digital fashion week and a real fashion week, a physical fashion week. And it was really interesting to see that because social media are so powerful and because you can actually transcript everything that you see on social media online, the impact of digital fashion week was huge and almost as huge as what we see on physical fashion week. So I think it's a very positive thing that brands have been kind of forced to try those digital fashion week because they tend to be as productive in terms of brand image and also a bit more ecologic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're working on a number of those things now about bringing brands to be streaming broadcast brands, and not just in fashion, but across a number of spaces. And there's a tremendous amount of advantage to that for a live or non-live scenario. But I think that really is the transformation in fashion, I think.
So after the pandemic situation, digital fashion weeks will stay?
Or become wider in what they can offer, perhaps.
Yes, I'm sure it will affect the way that fashion weeks are has been done, and I'm sure companies will rethink the way that they will be doing it, because now they see wider possibilities. And I think, like Anna De Russo said in the beginning of the summit, the fashion industry needed a change, needed something that would shake, because it was too fast, too much, too everything. I mean, I hope that it wasn't been happening by pandemic, but looking at the bright side, it would make us rethink and restart. And for sure, it's not going to be the same. We're not going to be going back to like so many fashion shows, one after the other, people traveling on airplanes from one place to another. It will be much more like live broadcast, enabling people all over the world to watch it at the same time. So I think it's going to be a revelation, and a revolution.
I think it's I think it's also important to talk about the schedule, because fashion weeks and the fashion calendar, how it works, the seasonal things. And if you look at already, there are a couple of high-profile brands that decided not to participate in that. So I don't think it's only about being online or offline. It's also about the structure, how you deliver the new content. If you think of fast fashion manufacturers like Zara, having new items and new collections every 2 weeks. I think the structure and schedule is also radically changing. Therefore, how we will then showcase and experience the products will kind of accommodate that. So being online or offline, digital, hybrid, I think it's a whole package that we have to look together. And after the pandemic or under the pandemic or before the pandemic, these transitions are already happening. So what I'm interested to see is that this kind of digital trend, how much will be left from it, and how will that, go with this whole transition, what we are talking about now.
Listening to you, it popped into my mind that you also cover this sustainability in a way, that if you look at the supply chain, which were under attack because of this pandemic situation. So how do you see, for example, the 3D printing and the fashion industry connection, meaning that the creativity, which is supported by data and so on, is designed by great fashion designers, but the production will be very personal. Like I will produce my clothes for myself, for my community with a 3D printer. So do you see that it will come in the near future, or if it's not that near, then when it will come? Would anyway the fashion industry let such disruptive things happen?
So I would like to comment on that. I think, well, we've been seeing 3D printing. It's been going on for a long time, since the 70s, and it still hasn't, come through. Like wearable technology, there's a hype, but they don't see any printed shoes coming at Nike shop yet.
But Adidas has a 3D printer.
Yes, exactly. But I think there will be a future of 3D printing, and we see it now by Adidas 3D printed soles, and in the near future, I think this is about material. The materials are not there yet. We did not manage to print threads that are fine as the yarns we're wearing. And this will be the breakthrough. We have a graduate called Danit Peleg that created her whole graduation collection printed on a home printer. And now she has a company, and you can buy online, order a jacket and print it at home, and connect it together, and it is by your sizes and colors. So it is already there. The pioneers are there already, but still technology has to work with science to create the materials, I think.
Okay.
If I can, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You can go, you can go.
Oh, I can talk a lot, but I think this question has so many topics embedded within. We're talking about customization, localization, DIY movement, distribution of fashion, supply chain and production. I think this is really complex, and obviously, hopefully in the near future, everybody will have the chance to actually manufacture their own, needs, and therefore what demand they generate, they will be able to supply it or satisfy it. But I think it's really complex, and first we need to look at how, for example, local manufacturing can even, improve the fashion system itself. Because if you think of all the logistical difficulties of remote supply chains and where the production facilities are, those are the ones that we have to look at first, and then we can look at our homes, how we will be able to bring production in-house. But yeah, I think it's really interesting question, really important to talk about, the role of the customer as a creator or as a content manufacturer.
And there's a question, a little bit provocative, but not necessarily from the future perspective. The questioner approached the topic, but more like the present, that we've seen a lot of extreme examples in terms of the representation of fashion tech. But how do you see the fashion tech in people's everyday life? So how immediate solutions, how immediately you see these digitalization solve something in everyday life? Or this is just something in the future, it's very nice, but
I still don't know what fashion tech is specifically. That's a big umbrella, it sounds like. So I don't know.
Quite big, but like, let's say...
I was about to say, like, it's all about the definition in the end, what fashion tech really is, right? Because like in the end, if you mean by fashion tech, the technologic development and evolvement, I mean, that's happening day to day, right? So, and if you look on the way like fashion and other products are presented and the way you can engage with them, and like the way that like video content is now super normal on online shops, and that you can like, it's starting to get like augmented reality and so on, in order to like get a better idea of the way like how you can engage with the product, and there's more and more to come. So it's like, if you say define fashion tech by that, then it's of course happening right now in the moment. If you define fashion tech like as something super extravagant, which is probably happening in 5 years from now, because the technology, as we discussed already, and Maya already said also, that it's like not here yet, but like at some point maybe to come, then fashion tech is not here yet, but it's like there's like constantly basically new things happening and evolving. So I guess technology will always impact the way like things work. I don't know. So it's all about the definition in the end, I guess.
Well, let's go back to the use case. What's the use case for tech to be in fashion? Maya's work was really inspiring, very human. But I think there has to be an answer for what do you actually need? What kind of thing is it doing? Is it elevating you? Is it solving a problem? Is it a health need? Is it, what are the use cases that make fashion, the tech in something wearable really valuable?
But the question is, do you look for the use cases to really translate the technology and fashion merge into everyday life, or this gonna come from the customers, like how can I say, like a new need, very visible new need. So because in my industry, we really look after new use cases to, for example, translate 5G for an everyday life, which is not necessarily, we are not there yet. And what I see in the high innovative land, that it's a little bit disconnected from today's reality, and the use cases are a little bit far away. And there was another provocative question, like, these videos that you showed, and these ideas are really astonishingly mind-breaking, but what's the point? What's the point today?
Well, the wearable tech is mainly used right now for medical uses and sports. there you see it really happening right now, and it is life-saving, okay? So there are vests you wear under your shirt, and it takes measurements of your heart, your blood pressure, etc. And it could tell if you got a heart attack before you even realize you're going under a heart attack, which happens a lot of the times. Your doctor already receives a call, and maybe you'll find an ambulance outside your door telling you, come on, you're under a heart attack, come right now. So it is already in use. The thing that is stopping the wearable technology being embedded right now in our clothes is the funny thing that we want to wash our clothes. Laundry and water, technology and water, electronics and water are not the very good friends. You know,
interesting. Yeah.
And that is the real reason that that's a very good one. Yet. Yeah. And you know, our mobile phones, they keep on telling us this is water resistant, but how many of you, you know, dried your phone after it fell into a pool or something? So
yeah, absolutely.
This is like
listen, we have to kind of get to the end, and thanks very much for your participation. One last question, quickly answer. What's your take for 2021? What is your forecast? Very simple forecast.
That's me.
Yeah, one by one. Let's start, Rob.
Take for 2021. I think we're going to find ourselves far more collaborative than we ever were through this medium. I think what this is, for as far as my teams are concerned, this has changed our personal relationships and our ability to collaborate so much deeper than we had in the physical space, actually. So that's a bit of a prediction. Is we're going to be much closer to each other making things.
Thank you. Shana?
For me, I think 2021 will be the year that when technology is not questioned anymore. I'm not expecting to see a huge innovation which is going to revolutionize everything, but I'm seeing and I expect that people will be less fearful towards technology, and that there will be an increasing adoption of technology.
Lili?
I agree with Rob in the sense that community is key. So I believe that going forward, building communities where skill and knowledge exchange can happen, where we can support each other, work with each other, collaborate, take part in multidisciplinary research projects, but just in general, talk to each other. As we learned now that Zoom meetings are so important, I think 2021 will be all about real life Zoom.
Adrian?
Yes, I think like 2020 made us question the status quo and like really try and experiment a lot of new things. So we've been like in this experimentation phase right now. In 2021, I think will deliver us more of like things that brings us from like the experimentation mode over to like more sophisticated, more new status quo, so to say.
Thank you. Maya?
I think 2021 will be the year of values, to think what is really important, the most important, me as a person, as a human being, as a mother, as an educator, and everyone should, you know, do his own calculation, but I think as a community and as a society.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and take care and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.